Cooking from frozen is not my thing, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But sometimes, you know what? We just have to. Welcome to the Salt and Pepper, where we cook for real life using real food and we keep it real simple. Today's recipe is something I very seldom do, and that is cook from frozen. Now I'm using frozen chicken thighs with the skin on, okay, and the bone in. And I feel like that's pretty important when you're gonna cook from frozen. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend using like a boneless, skinless chicken breast. And I'll get into those reasons in a little bit, but let's first get started with this because it is super, super easy. 2 to 4 bone in, skin on chicken thighs, frozen, solid, right? Because you just got home from work or the kids were out playing, a sporting event or sporting game and you forgot to take something out. Don't worry, because this is ready in about 30 minutes or so, okay? Don't have to preheat the air fryer, but you do want to get some seasoning on the chicken breast. So I'm going to open these up. I'm only going to do 2 today. You can do up to 4 or even 6, depending on the size of your air fryer, but you want them to be in a single layer. So for the Ninja Foodi that I'm using with the basket in, 2 fit really comfortably, and there's only 2 of us in the house, so I'm going to make 2 of them. What you use for your seasoning blend is completely up to you. You can use any of your favorite seasonings or switch it up and do it different ways. I'm using just a simple blend of 1/2 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then a pinch of thyme leaves, not ground thyme, which would be a little overwhelming. These are thyme leaves, so they're dried though. I recommend using dried spices, not fresh, when you're doing this kind of an air fry. Otherwise, your herbs just tend to get really dark and burnt on the top. All right, we don't have to worry about preheating anything, but we do want to put in some hot water. So whatever kind of air fryer you're using, like if you have the drawer style, a basket style that opens up this way or, has like that little thing that comes out, you will have a rack usually. You want to put your water down in the base and then your chicken above the water. And that's going to help produce some steam. So try to get it as hot as possible. Now, our water here is super, super hot, so I didn't worry about putting it in the microwave. But you could actually use 1 cup of boiling water. Then just spritz your chicken just a little bit with oil. Totally optional though. I just do it through the seasoning stick. And I've had good success with it. Then just put your seasoning blend over the back side is what I'm doing first here. Just, however you would normally season your chicken thighs. Flip them over, and I do the same thing. Literally using less than a teaspoon of oil, and that is optional. Now, if I wasn't doing a video, I would have all this done and then put in the hot water just so it doesn't cool down, but we're gonna be just fine. All right, so here we go, into the basket. Now, I probably could have gotten 3 in here pretty easily. Yeah, I could have definitely done 3, but 4 would have been overlapping. That would impede the cooking process, so you don't wanna do that. Make sure they're in a single layer in your air fryer. Now we're going to close the lid. Now you don't have to worry about preheating. It's not going to help cook anything any faster or do any extra crisping. Like usually I recommend preheating, and if they were thawed, I would preheat, but they're frozen solid. It's going to take a little bit of time to get them to unfreeze. So we're going to just start it off. You do want to be on your air fry setting or air crisp, whatever type of air fryer you have, whatever they call it. Those 2 words are interchangeable. Go up to 400 degrees and set the time for 15 minutes. Not 19, 15 minutes. Okay, don't get excited though. They're not going to be ready in 15 minutes. There is absolutely no way, right? But that higher temperature will keep the water hot, producing some steam, thawing the chicken a little bit quicker. And then once it's thawed and we start to get some nice crisping on that skin, we will lower the temperature and finish cooking it through. Technically, you could go on the higher temperature the entire time, but guess what? You are going to dry out your chicken right underneath where the skin is. So you don't want to do that. So we do it in a little step mode. So we step down. So we start off hot and step down to a lower temperature after 15 minutes. So we just let it go now, and then we'll check on it in 15. Now you can let your time run out if you want to, that's no problem, but what I usually do is just when it hits about 30 seconds, I will take this back up to 25 minutes. Now, it is not gonna take, usually anyway, the entire 25 minutes to finish cooking this, the chicken thighs, but I like to add the extra time on the clock, and then I cook to temperature, which is very important. Now we're gonna decrease the temperature down to 325 degrees. That is also important because, like I said earlier in the video, if you stay at the high temperatures, you're gonna burn the skin and you're gonna dry out the first, like I'm gonna say, layer of meat right underneath the skin. So we don't wanna do that. But you can still peek at it now, which I recommend that you do. And you'll see it's getting a beautiful browning color. I mean, it's just gorgeous, but it is not quite done yet. Now, there's a couple of options. You could leave it alone, okay? You do not have to flip. And depending on your air fryer, you can make that decision. What I like to do here is, because honestly, the skin gets crispier when it's on the bottom of the basket here. So I'd flip it at this point. And now I'll let it go another 10 minutes, and then I'll start checking a temperature, and I'll flip it back over and cook the top a little bit longer. All right, so we've been cooking at the lower temperature for about 10 minutes, and now is a really good time to check the internal temperature of the chicken. Try not to hit the bone because that's gonna give you a false reading. Try to go in right there at the center here, and we are at about 142, and that is pretty good. Obviously not done yet, but pretty good. Yep. Between 140 and 142. Now I'm gonna flip them back over and just keep going until they reach the desired temperature of 165. Or 160, you could pull them and let them rest till they come up to 165. The other thing that you can do at this point, they're fully thawed. If you wanted to get more crisping on the skin, you could maybe go another 5 minutes at this temperature and go back up on the air crisp temperature. All right, with just 11 minutes left here on our 25-minute timer, I'm gonna take a temperature and see how the top is crisping up. Now we're getting some more browning. It looks beautiful, but I'm a crispy skin girl. So let's see what our temperature is. So we are at 160. So we're pretty good there as far as our temperature goes. Now, one thing about chicken thighs is they are really, really forgiving, okay? So it's okay to go a little bit longer if you want to. What I would do though, if you want a little more crisping, but you're hitting that 160, take your temperature up. Now, once you figure out the perfect formula with this step method that works for you, it becomes really easy to do. And you just go by what your temperature is and what your chicken looks like and how you want to serve it. A lot of people would like it just the way it's done right now. It'd be perfectly fine. But me, I want that crispier skin. So I'm gonna go up on the heat a little bit for the last few minutes. All right, let's take a peek. I didn't even let it go the whole 5 minutes, but let's just take a look here. Now, every time you open up the lid, you do let heat escape, but I just don't want to overcook them, right? These look really beautiful. I think I'm gonna pull them right now. They look absolutely gorgeous. They are golden brown. The skin is crispy as crispy can be. Oh, that's just lovely. So let's talk about this step method and how you can use it to cook foods, especially proteins, from frozen without sacrificing quality. Because what happens if you take some frozen protein like a chicken breast, whether it's got skin on or boneless, or a pork chop or a chicken thigh with the bone in and skin on, and you throw it into either the oven or the air fryer and you cook from frozen, you end up overcooking the outer part before the inner part cooks to temperature so that it's safe to eat. And it's just not a very good eating experience. So by doing the step method, You can start out high or you can start out with a low temperature. Depends on what you're cooking. So I'm going to get into that just real briefly here in this video, but I will have an article on my website that goes over it in more detail, okay? Because it's wonderful to use for all kinds of frozen meat that you want to cook. You would use a lower temperature right off the bat if you're doing a protein that doesn't have skin on it. So it doesn't have any fat. It's not protected. Like a chicken breast that's boneless, skinless chicken breast. You would start out at a high temperature if you're using something that has some skin on it, because we want to get that fat rendering and distributed into the meat and get it nice and crispy. Okay. Then we focus on cooking the internal meat to the right temperature. Whereas if you don't have the skin or the bone on, you can stay at that lower heat until you are just about within 5 degrees of being done. Then if you want some browning and it's not getting as brown, you bump up your heat. So definitely using this temperature step method to cook from frozen is going to give you wonderful results when those occasions arise that you forgot to take something out to thaw. I still recommend starting with thawed meat though. I will always recommend that. But you could not tell that these were frozen when I put them in the air fryer the way that they look right now. All right, let's go ahead and cut into them. First, let me take a temp. They've been sitting here for a few minutes. Then they should definitely be up. Now, they've already climbed up to 180. Now, thankfully, chicken thighs are so forgiving. That's not going to make much of a difference. Yeah, they're way done. Way done. Okay. So let's go ahead and... Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's beautiful. And it is still juicy. It is not dried out. Like I said, you will never know that these were cooked from frozen. There's no sacrifice in quality when you use this step method. Oh. Oh my goodness. These are delicious. Now, you can also use this method of cooking if you wanted to put some barbecue sauce on at the very end and then do some broiling or some more air crisping. You can do that. Just monitor your internal temperature with a good instant read thermometer. You can use a probe thermometer that stays in the meat if you want to during the air frying process. That way you don't even have to open the lid and you can just adjust your temperatures. That would work lovely. You can use this with pork chops, chicken, steaks, all kinds of things. You can use the step method so that you can cook from frozen when you need to.